everyone to another episode of Ignorant Sports Talk. Joined today by regular cast of characters, Jack, Panky, Jay, and Figs.
Sure.
And today we want to start with the NFL since we are all avid fans. And unfortunately, they took their sweet ass time coming out to say something about the Black Lives Matter movement and the protests going on. So their first major statement came through Drew Brees, and boy, did that fail hard. So we're gonna start with that today, and let's get some initial opinions. Whoever would like to jump in first. What was your first reaction, first thoughts when Drew Brees' video surfaced?
You know when you're a kid and people teach you how to explain yourself or how to apologize, usually one of the first things people say is, if you say the word but, everything before that no longer matters, right? Like if I said, Figgy, you're a great guy, you're an upstanding man, but you still 5'6", my nigga. It don't even matter.
Wow.
Like, everything before that gets erased, you know what I'm saying? So like with Drew Brees, it was almost like the opposite effect, because he started his message by saying, I'll never agree with anyone disrespecting the flag. After that, I stopped listening, because I'm sure he said a lot after that to explain himself or to kind of explain his perspective. But quite frankly, I just didn't give a damn what he had to say after that, because as soon as he said that nonsense, it was like, okay, you're an idiot. You're done here. Bye. There was nothing to justify that or rectify that, or even like there was no need for an explanation. I was like, I don't care what you have to say. You made your statement very clearly. You don't agree with anyone disrespecting the flag. Cool. End of discussion. That was my first reaction. Like, I don't need to hear the rest of the video. I've heard enough.
Yeah, my first reaction was similar. You know what I mean? I was more angry than anything, because it's kind of like, yo, weren't we here 4 years ago? Like, we had like a big, like the country was in array over the whole Colin Kaepernick and why he kneeled and, all of these good things. And it's kind of like he was actually kneeling as a more respectful gesture. You know what I mean? Because originally he was sitting down. And then somebody told him like, yo, kneeling is actually the way to go. It's actually a little bit more respectful. You know what I mean? So, and for these guys 4 years later not to know why he kneeled after he explained himself so many times, after so many people have explained the reason that he kneeled, and everybody made it clear that it has nothing to do with the United States flag or anything like that. He's kneeling, you know what I mean, because of all the cop killings, all of the racial profiling that's going on. You know what I mean? Like, so for somebody like Drew Brees to not get that 3-4 years later, that's what really pissed me off. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, bro. Like, were you living under a rock? Like, you know what I mean? Come on, man. Like, that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
Absolutely. And another thing too is like, in all of my experiences in life and all of my understandings, when you take a knee, it's a show of respect to something. When you approach a throne, you take a knee. When you are being knighted, you take a knee. When you are, let's not even be so grandeur to talk about royalty. We all played sports here. When you're in the huddle and your coach is talking, what do? Take a knee.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, it's almost, especially as a football player, they should all understand that taking a knee is a sign of respect.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I understand where Kaepernick was coming from, in the sense that, like, I'm showing respect to the people who need it. I'm not necessarily showing respect to the flag or whatever. But, like, taking a knee isn't this big disrespectful gesture that people are making it out to be. So when they say, oh, I'll never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag, I've seen people in America burn the American flag. I've seen videos of people spitting on the flag. I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff. They didn't do any of that. They're not like, it's not like if you know, the national anthem comes on and these guys are like, oh, yo, F the anthem, let's all just Dougie instead. You know, they're still paying attention to what's happening. They're just taking a knee.
I think also technically you can't wear the American flag on any clothing. I think there's some sort of rule about that technically that people always overlook. But like the idea of taking a knee, and people forget who convinced Kaepernick to take the knee. The person who convinced him to take a knee was a former Green Beret. Nate Boyer, the guy that was on the Seahawks, I believe, was a long snapper.
Right.
He reached out to Kaepernick and being like, you know, they both had a mutual respect for where they stood, and Boyer told him, like, maybe you should try this. This is a bit more respectful. Like, I want to understand what you're doing. This is my suggestion. There was a mutual respect there, and that's who told him. So everybody that's saying it's disrespectful to the flag for people who fought and died, remember that one of those people who has served was the one that told Kaepernick, or suggested to Kaepernick, you know, try this. You know, it'll be, you know, it's a little more respectful in how you approach it, and people always like to conveniently forget about that.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And he told him, you know, the idea there was that it would be received better. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it was received worse. You know what I mean? Which makes zero sense to me, man. Like, I really don't get it. When there have been several veterans that have actually fought, you know what I mean, saw people died, you know what I mean, bled for this country, came out and backed Colin Kaepernick. You know what I mean? So the whole, oh yeah, my grandfather fought and my other grandfather fought, that's great. I get it. Nobody's trying to disrespect your grandfather, bro. Like, me personally, I got nothing but respect for the people that fight for this country. You know what I mean? Like, I have family members that are in the Army, in the Navy, in the military, you know what I mean, in the Marines. You know what I mean? Nobody's trying to disrespect them. You know what I mean? But we sing about the land of the free and the home of the brave. And is this really the land of the free? Is it really the home of the brave? Like,
right.
Everybody's not free. You know what I mean? So that was why he was kneeling. Come on, man.
I think that's such an incredible point. Just like no one is trying to disrespect the people that fought for anything. No one's trying to disrespect, you know, the ancestry that way, except for the ancestry that was really, really bad, that does not deserve respect. And it's like there's a part of it that way. And I think that what Kaepernick did was just one of the most important, you know, things that an athlete's ever done, because he figured out a way to somehow draw attention to an issue that, like, is just somehow people keep forgetting about. And I think the US is such an interesting country because of this patriotism, but what is patriotism really? Like, isn't that being proud of your country? And like, to be proud of your country, don't you have to have all the people in your country, you know, be doing okay? Like, don't you care that like millions and millions of people are like, you know, either dying or being treated like shit or never having an opportunity to succeed? It's like, I'm proud of Canada, but I'm not proud of some of the bad things. I'm proud of Canada because of, for example, some of the socialist views that they have. Not that I'm just that far left leaning, but I like that they take care of their people in a little bit better way. You know, when you look at, I'm over in Europe, you look at the opinions of the US and people laugh like it's a joke. And it's like, it's a joke, and it's also so sad. So there needs to be major changes before you can be proud of that country and call yourself a patriot. You know, that's
Absolutely. We have another brother joining us from America, our boy Dylan. We're just gonna let him hop on real quick so we can get some more perspectives.
Well, I'll bring up this. Back when Kaepernick started the initiative of kneeling during the anthems in order to bring awareness to this, the moment that the perspective changed was when, of course, Trump made Twitter comments that exacerbated the issue by relating the kneeling and the flag directly to the country's armed forces. So once that association was made, and you know, all the very patriotic feelings associated with that, it was almost impossible to untangle at that point. So people couldn't disassociate what Kaepernick was trying to bring awareness to, and then the freedom that was fought for overseas by, you know, the military and the army and all those individuals.
Right.
But even that is the biggest issue, because those are two completely separate, unrelated points.
Right. Absolutely.
Right?
Sure. Yes, sir.
But even before that, the NFL's always been heavily tied with military support and appreciation. So it's always been in the background. Like,
yeah,
every year, Pat Tillman's name keeps getting brought up, and rightfully so. I mean, he was shot and killed for his country, but that association has always been there before this situation. That there's always been partnerships with the military and things like that. So even before that, association has been, like, you know, implanted in the background for people.
Power structures that are in place have been desperately trying to hold on to power forever, just like all corrupt power structures do. And it's like, it's getting to the point now where it feels like finally there might be some changes made. But you look at the NFL owners, for example. You think those guys don't get all together and they're like, fuck this shit. Like, how can we stop this? Like, okay, let's just associate it with disrespecting the flag. Let's go that angle on it. We're not going to tolerate this. Like, there needs to be a huge change. Those owners need to all get slapped in the face and realize that this is a very serious issue, where the people that they're employing, that are making them their money, their families are being treated like just like human garbage. And that's just unacceptable for any employer or any good person.
Do you guys ever heard the correlation of professional athletes to the gladiators? In essence, the gladiators were just slaves who were paid for their victories in the arena, but they were owned by families, and they were owned by the state, they were owned by the city, whatever. But in truth, they were just slaves. You know, they were there to speak the message of their ownership and to entertain the masses by putting their body on the line. That's pretty much what professional athletes are. And I'll bring it to that girl from Fox News. I can't remember her name. I'm sure everybody knows. Thank you, sir. That crazy white lady who told LeBron and Kevin Durant shut up and dribble, but then had the audacity to say, "Oh, why doesn't Drew Brees get the opportunity to just present his opinion?" She represents the opinion of the state, or of the hegemon. And when you look at a professional athlete or a gladiator who in essence is just a slave to the system, it's not your position to step out and speak against it. What we're experiencing now is literally a revolt of the slaves against the state, because now the professional athletes are saying, wait, hold on. We make more money than you. I'm like LeBron James and, you know, Kevin Durant, Michael Thomas, Todd Gurley, OBJ, like they make more money than the people who are telling them to shut up. So it's almost like, how are you telling me what I can and can't say? I have a bigger platform than you. With Drew Brees, unfortunately, he took his platform and said some dumb shit. And then all of his teammates, all of his friends, everybody's like, wait a minute, Drew. I didn't realize that was a situation. You live in New Orleans, bro. Mm-hmm. You live in like down south black capital. Like, there's black people everywhere. And I don't really understand how you can have that kind of perspective when you're like, the person who's made you famous in terms of helping you break all the records is a black guy. You know, like, it just doesn't make any sense that Drew Brees would even not understand 4 years later, like you said, that this is what it's about. It ain't got nothing to do with the damn flag. I mean, if you really think about it, the American flag has changed since they first made it anyway. So, like, it's not about the flag, and it's not about disrespecting the people who fought. It's about respecting the people who are still fighting. But they're not fighting on foreign soil. They're fighting right here, right now, at home. And, like, he just doesn't understand that. But again, it's because Drew Brees is a voice of the state, Same with Laura Ingraham. They represent the position of the state. Whereas the others who are like, no, we don't necessarily agree with this. The reason there's this battle is because they are the slaves who don't represent the voice of the state. So there's now a disconnect between two sides. And unfortunately, for those who represent the voice of the state, it now seems that the people who are trying to reclaim or to claim power are the ones who have been disheveled for the longest while. You know, the people who didn't have a voice, but now they're realizing, wait a minute, yes, we do. Guys like LeBron, guys like Michael Thomas, guys like Malcolm Jenkins. Like, they're like, no, we could say something. I'm black as hell, but I'm going to say something. You know?
Now,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
well,
No,
just
all I was gonna say was Jiggs made a really good point. You know what I mean? When he brought up Trump, you know what I mean, you know, pretty much correlating it to the armed forces. It's kind of like foreshadowing to what's been going on for the last 4 years, if you think about it. The guy is divisive. You know what I mean? That's what he's done. In my opinion, that's what he's been put in office to do. You know what I mean? Divide the country. And, you know, Will Smith, he made a really good point where he said, I don't know if you guys heard this quote from him. Racism hasn't gotten worse. It's just being filmed now.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So this is an issue that's been going on. It's, you know, it's just that social media is so prevalent now that people are actually taking out their phones and recording it. And you know what I mean? So it's being televised. You know what I mean? Laura Ingraham, I feel like she's just part of the, you know, the racism being televised. And with a divisive president in office like Donald Trump, you're giving people that have always had these opinions, but haven't really had the courage to come out and just speak their mind. You're giving these racists the opportunity to speak their mind because they feel like their president is going to back them or their president is going to protect them at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And I think it's not even about like them having the courage to do so. Like you said, it makes you think like how many racist encounters were happening in professional sports, in the corporate world, all these things on a regular basis in the 80s, in the 70s, 60s, you know, like what was happening? Like we know there was racism back then because we know there's racism now. And we know how bad it was then too. I mean, not even that long ago, you could look at the Rodney King riots. Like it was serious. But like you said, like now it's being filmed and televised, and we're all like, oh my God, this is crazy. It's just like, now we can just see it on the world stage. You know, black people have been seeing this for generations. Everybody's just seeing it now.
Right? Yes, sir.
I want to continue talking about, you know, athletes and players' platforms and how they can use it. But first, I want to go back to the initial Drew Brees comments. Right. Because I think we can all agree that it was surprising to hear him say what he said with such conviction, knowing that a city like New Orleans loves him and has embraced him for over a decade.
Yep.
But what I want to ask, because the thing that stuck out to me is, why is it Drew Brees being asked the question to begin with? Why is it him being given the opportunity to comment on this situation? Do you think the role of the media has to recognize that it's giving maybe the wrong people or the people who aren't the best suited to be talking on certain subjects right now?
Well, he wasn't even being asked, what do you think about this whole thing? That's what made it interesting. When you remember the question that was being asked, he was asked, basically, I don't know it word for word, but basically the interviewer was saying, we're likely going to see a rise of players taking the knee when the season starts. How do you think the NFL should or will respond to this? And what are you doing what can leaders like you do, basically, in your locker rooms? So it wasn't even like, Drew Brees, what do you think about this? Just like, and it could have been something that could have been easily deflected for him. It could have been something that it could have been easy set up for him to say something sort of uniting or inspiring. But then he was just like, yeah, I don't agree with anybody that takes a knee against the flag. And it's just like, damn, that came out of nowhere. And it wasn't even like, it wasn't
prompted. Yeah, that's not what we asked you.
Yeah. I mean,
it was like he took an opportunity to spit that bullshit, and it was like, nobody asked you your opinion about that, bro. We asked you, what can you do as a leader to address the NFL's response in this? Like, if this is what people are going to start to do, and how are you as a leader going to be a part of the movement, the progressive movement?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't agree.
It was a
Yeah,
failure.
that's part of the reason I was mad in the beginning, because the way the guy presented the question, Drew Brees did not even have to speak on that. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's another reason why I was so pissed off. He could have easily just answered the question and just left it. You know what I
And
mean?
moved
But
on.
he chose to be, you know what I mean, divisive, so to speak. And now he wants to apologize. You know what I mean?
Jack, what was you about to say?
I was gonna say it was a failure on like multiple levels, because that's not the right attitude for anyone to have right now. But it's especially not the right attitude for white people to have right now, especially white men. And then it's really important, and I think that they should be asking these white quarterbacks, to be honest, actually, because I believe that they're very influential in that I guess whatever community. It's these are some of the most privileged people in the world, some of the most popular, some of the most looked up to, and they have a powerful voice. And if you're a white sports fan who is a racist in America, and your white quarterback comes out and says, yo, you're wrong, like you need to really reassess how you look at things, that is powerful. Like Joe Burrow did it, Aaron Rodgers did it, some of these other guys. I think it's very important for that. And he really just shot the bed on that and just showed clearly that he is part of the problem, because that attitude is part of the problem. It showed a lack of education on his part, a lack of compassion. And I think it was he had an opportunity there to make a positive difference, and he went the other way.
And, you know, I'll be honest with you, like, I think the way he tried to, like, kind of play on people's compassion was the biggest load of horse shit I've ever heard in my life. Talking about, like, you know, when I hold my hand over my heart and I sing the anthem, you know, sometimes it brings me to tears. Man, shut that bullshit up. When I turn on CNN and I see another black man getting shot or run down in the streets or getting choked out, that shit brings me to tears. Your grandfather died in the war, so did a million other people, my guy. Shut up. LeBron said the same shit, like, yo, my grandfather was in the war too, bro. Like, why are you trying to act like you're the only one that lost somebody in a war? We talking about people that are dying at traffic lights, people that are dying in front of convenience stores, people that are dying in their own house. You talking about people who died on a battlefield? When your grandfather signed that paper, he agreed to die on a battlefield. I didn't go to the convenience store to die. You know what I'm saying? It's like, don't try to make me feel sorry for you or compassionate, not sorry, because your grandfather was a soldier. He died for his country. George Floyd died for $20. Ahmaud died because he was trying to lose some weight. Breonna died because Fibo ran up in her crib. It's like, how are you even trying to correlate those things? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I'm not compassionate for you because your grandfather died in a war. Many people's grandparents died in the war. But we're talking about young men who dying right now. Not, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago. Like, shut that shit up. And for the people who don't necessarily agree with that perspective, again, you're part of the problem. Because no one is disregarding the fact that brave men and women died in the war. But guess what? Some of those men and women were black too. Some of the American soldiers are black. My cousin is darker than me, and he is in the army. He did 2 tours in Iraq. So it's like, how you telling me that we don't respect the flag or we don't understand what it means to be patriotic or whatever, like, but we're not fighting. I saw a comedy sketch last night. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was saying, like, black people, they don't fight for, and I think I mentioned this last week too, they're not even fighting for equal rights. They're fighting for civil rights. Like, they're just fighting so you could be civil. Just let's be friendly. Mm-hmm. They don't want equal rights. They don't want none. They just want civil. And I was like, damn, I never even thought of that.
The fact that right now, they're proposing to make lynching a federal crime. Like, that's happening now. That a proposal
in 2020, right?
It's being held up by one person.
And it's like, are you crazy, man? Like, this is insane. It's been wrong for so long. It's just, It's brutal. It really
And then
is.
and then you look at the apology that he put out. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I always have the perspective or the position of you're not gonna disrespect me in public and then apologize in private. And the same kind of message rings with that in that as Drew Brees, you're not gonna disrespect me on camera, face to face, and then apologize with a little note. Because one, your agent probably wrote that note, or your PR rep or whoever. And two, I can't look you in the face to see that you feel the remorse. And another thing is my whole position on that is if you have to be prompted to apologize, 99% of the time that apology is disingenuous. And I saw a lot of tweets about this. You're not sorry for your position. You're just sorry for how people took it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like when girlfriends, you know, they catch their man cheating and they're like, oh, you're not sorry you cheated. You're just sorry you got caught.
Yes, sir.
You know, and like I can understand that mentality. Like you're not sorry for what happened. You're sorry for how it turned out. Because if people was saying like, you know, Drew Brees, we appreciate your opinion, he would have been like, yep, that's my opinion. I'm going to stand to it. But after Malcolm Jenkins said, you know, shut the F up, after Michael Thomas was like, don't talk to me no more, just throw the ball and get out of my way, like, all of a sudden he's like, oh my God, guys, I didn't realize you guys would be hurt by this. Like, I'm sorry I hurt you. No, shut up, bro. You still got the same opinions at the end of the day. I remember back in the day, Aries Spears was saying like, you know, white people, you don't have to hide the fact that you say nigga. Because I know when you turn on the TV at 11 o'clock at night, you see some of the dumb shit black people do. You don't be like, look at these African Americans. You be like, honey, look at these crazy niggas on the news. And we know it. We know what happens. But the fact is, with Drew Brees, it just happened for everybody to see. And that's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
I got a question for you though, because and you could see that maybe he wasn't remorseful, and I completely agree with what you said about you know, it's too little too late, like that was his views in the beginning. But what I'm wondering about is what should be the response for people that maybe have had those views in the past, or have even, you know, publicly had those views, but they want to try to change it, and we don't know if it's genuine or not. But what should the response kind of be to help, you know, bring people forward, and not make them kind of run to the other side?
The response is don't talk about it, be about it.
Okay.
Simple as that. Like, you know, if you look at his response, and maybe somebody can pull it up. Panky, you're usually the guy who has all the info ready to rock. Did he explicitly say what I said was wrong?
I have to pull up because he had,
can you
like,
pull it up for me?
He had like three different apologies, like the three different things. So hold on.
Right. And when I say talk about it, don't talk about it, be about it. Like I could say, you know what, Giuliano, you're one of my best friends, man, and I hate your haircut. And then I could hear.
You could say it?
I could say that. I won't, but I could.
Oh,
but
okay.
then, you know, Jack could call me and be like, yo, man, look, when you said that to Jigs, you know, you really hurt his feelings. And I could come back and the next show and be like, you know, guys, last week I really upset Giuliano by messing up his hair or talking about his hair. And, you know, I take that back. Or as a barber, I could sit down and be like, you know what, Jigs, let me show you how to cut your hair properly next time, because I cut my own hair all the time. So not only do I want to tell you that it was wrong for me to just call you out like that, let me help you find a better solution. Right? Now, I'm not just talking about it, I'm being about it. I'm going to help you with this shit. So with Drew Brees saying some dumb shit like that, you know what, my guy? Opening game, take a knee.
You know what? I got a really good analogy, right? With rappers. A lot of rappers, especially since the Drake and Meek Mill thing, you know what I mean, have been taking heat for having ghostwriters or having, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, when he went on his interview, we could tell that it wasn't something that was rehearsed. We could tell that it was, you know, he was speaking from his heart. You know what I mean? But with his apology, it's kind of like, bro, who wrote that shit for you? You know what I mean? Because it's like you said, Panky, he had three different apologies. Even he did have one where he was actually looking into the camera, but you could tell that he was reading off of a paper or something. So it's kind of like, yo, if your initial sentiment was sincere, your apology needs to be sincere too. I'm not gonna respect you for having a written out apology or having, you know what I mean? Clearly the Saints tried to do damage control.
Oh yeah.
Because you know, Michael Thomas and Jenkins,
Kamara.
yeah, they were about to kick his ass, damn near.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And then the next day it's like, oh, we forgive you. Like, nah, come on. Let's be realistic about this. Now, I'm a Christian man. I'm all for forgiving and whatever, but these things take time. It's not something that just happens in 24 hours. You know what I mean? Especially over a sensitive topic like this. You know what I mean? And that's the thing I don't really understand. It's like when it comes to certain athletes, we're just supposed to forgive them. You know what I mean? Like Shaq and Charles Barkley, it's like, bro, like all of these things seem rehearsed. It seems like it's to kind of drive the narrative. You know what I mean? Like I need to see more genuine responses. I don't want to see these written out. Oh yeah, that's well thought. No, I want to hear things from the heart.
It's like it's exactly why Kyrie tried to destroy the media dell, because the media dell controls they control everything we see and hear, and the narrative of the media is the same.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's bad. It's ugly.
I have the Drew Brees statements in front of me whenever you want me to like read them.
Could you read that out for me?
Okay, so this is the first one with the stock image of a black hand and a white hand.
Yep.
Fucking dapping up.
Right.
Okay, this is a bit long, so bear with me here.
We got time.
Okay, from the Twitter account or Twitter/Instagram account of Drew Brees, and I quote: "I would like to apologize to my friends, teammates, the city of New Orleans, the black community, NFL community, and anyone I hurt with my comments yesterday. In speaking with some of you, it breaks my heart to know the pain I have caused. In an attempt to talk about respect, unity, and solidarity centered around the American flag and the national anthem, I made comments that were insensitive and completely missed the mark on the issues that we're facing right now as a country. They lacked awareness and any type of compassion or empathy. Instead, those words have become divisive and hurtful and have misled people in believing that somehow I am an enemy. This cannot be further from the truth, and it is not an accurate reflection of my heart or my character. This is where I stand. I stand with the black community in the fight against systemic racial injustice and police brutality and support and the creation of real policy change that will make a difference. I condemn the years of oppression that have taken place throughout our black communities and still exist today. I acknowledge that we as Americans, including myself, have not done enough to fight for that equality or to truly understand the struggles and plight of the black community. I recognize that I am part of the solution and can be a leader for the black community in this movement. I will never know what it's like to be a black man or raise black children in America, but I will work every day to put myself in those shoes and fight for what is right. I have always been an ally, never an enemy. I am sick about the way my comments were perceived yesterday, but I take full responsibility and accountability. I recognize that I should do less talking and more listening, and when the black community is talking about their pain, we all need to listen. For that, I am very sorry, and I ask your forgiveness." End quote.
Now, Panky, you're a writer. I'm also a writer. That sounds like pretty good PR writing right there.
Yeah, if not all of it, then a good chunk of it was for sure.
For sure.
That's yeah.
And again, it sounds to me like there was no clear cut. What I said was wrong. He said what I said was misleading. What I said hurt people. What I said caused you all to look at me like I'm the enemy. Never did I hear, and maybe I'm wrong, so, you know, when this comes out, leave it in the comments, you know, chat to me, let me know what you think. But I didn't feel as though he explicitly said what I said was incorrect. He just said it hurt a lot of people, and I'm sorry. It makes me feel sick that, you know, now everybody looking at me like I'm the enemy. I'm not an enemy. I'm an ally. Da 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 da. Cool. But do you understand that what you said was wrong? It wasn't misleading. It was wrong. Period.
Yeah, he said it missed the mark, but I see what you're saying. He didn't say like that was my opinion and that opinion was wrong. And
right, exactly. Right.
Saying.
And that's where I come from, like, because now you're apologizing, but it's almost like, what are you apologizing for exactly? What specifically are you apologizing for? Are you apologizing because you pissed off your teammates? Are you apologizing now because, you know, hundreds of thousands of fans are looking at you like you're an idiot? Or are you apologizing because what you said was disrespectful. Because you're talking about disrespect while being disrespectful. Is that what you're apologizing for? Because we need to, at this point in society and at this point in life, you need to be very clear and specific and concise about what you're saying, because a lot gets lost in translation. If there's one thing I can give, I can tip my hat to President Trump too, is that he's very concise. I don't agree with the shit he says, but he says it real simply.
I don't even think I would afford him concise.
No, I mean, no.
The
Put
guy
it like
rambles uncontrollably.
not when he has confrontation. Let me give you an example, right?
Yeah.
This lady asks him a long ass question. You know, what are you gonna do about da-da-da-da? First thing he says, is it from China? Opinion stated. Done. Very concise. Is it from China? Is it Chinese? Is it Get out. It's pretty concise to me. It's the wrong opinion, don't get me wrong, but it's concise.
Dismissive, not concise.
Concise and dismissive in his world are the same thing, sir. He gets to the point and then shuts you up about it.
I'd like to say, just to go back to Drew Brees there. Even like, I've always lived my life by, if someone makes a mistake, they should be afforded the opportunity to learn from it and go about accordingly. So while what Drew Brees said was wrong, disrespectful, and as obviously as PR has to play a role in his apologies, his countless apologies so far, a lot of what he said is good in theory, and we need to see the action he takes when his time comes.
Yep.
Right? When the opportunity presents itself to Drew Brees, what's he going to do now? Because he's obviously had people inform him about what was wrong about his opinion, why it was wrong, where he can change perspective, what things he can do to see what he hadn't before. And what we as fans of the NFL and fans, maybe his fans of him as a player, what we need to see now is how is he going to go forward with what he knows now.
Yep.
So I can't say any of those apologies were good or worth it until we see the results of those apologies down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I can read the other one if you guys want.
Kneeling that first game would be a huge statement.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he got to show up.
I think it's going to be very important about his action. There's an example that happens in European soccer. It was in Italy, which Italy is like infamous in soccer for having more racial fans.
Yeah.
And there was a player. He played for AC Milan. His name was Kareem. I forgot. Oh, it's like Boateng. His last name was Boateng. And every time he would touch the ball, there would be monkey noises from the side of the stadium where the fans were. So it got later into the game, and he picked up the ball and he punted it into the crowd, and he took off his jersey and he started walking completely off the field.
Mm-hmm.
And all of his white teammates would join him as well as the other team tried to stop him, and they just ended the game like that. So I think Drew Brees will have to stand with the black community if he wants to really apologize for what he did, what he said.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
reconcile.
He has been through there are a few players in the NFL that are currently with their team that have been as tied to that community as Drew Brees has been with New Orleans. Because there was with Katrina and how the Saints helped brought New Orleans together from Hurricane Katrina all the way through turning that entire community and franchise around. As far as who do you if you were to associate a player with a city, there's few players that have that resonance now what Drew Brees has had with the city of New Orleans, let alone a city where there's such a predominant and diverse black community in New Orleans.
Right.
He's got to have a huge wake up call. Hopefully someone like Malcolm Jenkins, who's so involved in different communities, can slap him up a little bit and be like, hey, watch this or read this or figure it out, basically. I could read the other statement that he did if you want, because the other one's a video and I can't read a video.
Can you read the other one? Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, so this is the caption for his video apology. I'll just read that.
Yep.
Step by step, you will see my heart for exactly what it is and the way everyone around me sees it. I'm sorry it has taken this long to act and to participate in a meaningful way, but I am your ally in this fight. And then the video starts.
Right.
This one is, the first one was 4 days ago. The second video was 3 days ago. And the statement to Trump was 2 days ago. So, excuse me. And I quote, Drew Brees to @real Donald Trump. Through my ongoing conversations with friends, teammates, and leaders in the Black community, I realize this is not an issue about the American flag. It has never been. We can no longer use the flag to turn people away or distract them from the real issues that face our Black communities. We did this back in 2017, and regretfully, I brought it back with my comments this week. We must stop talking about the flag and shift our attention to the real issues of systemic racial injustice, economic oppression, police brutality, and judicial and prison reform. We are at a critical juncture in our nation's history. If not now, then when? We as the white community need to listen and learn from the pain and suffering of our Black communities. We must acknowledge the problems, identify the solutions, and put this into action. The Black community cannot do it alone. This will require all of us, end quote.
See, that, in my opinion, that's probably the most respectful apology, quote unquote, that he's given. You know what I mean? You know, him being a Republican, I mean, for those of you that don't know, he is a Republican. Donald Trump is the leader of the Republican Party. So for him to check Trump the way he did, you know what I mean? When Trump was basically congratulating him for saying what he said and was like, no, don't. He apologized, and Trump was basically like, nah, don't apologize. You know what I mean? You were right for what you said. So for him responding to Trump in that way, I do respect that to some degree. But like, you know, Jermaine and Dylan were stating, it's more about action here. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that he can't be forgiven. Like I said, you know, I'm a follower of Christ. I'm all about forgiveness. He can be forgiven, but it's like, you know, let's say a man cheats on a woman or a woman cheats on a man. You come to me and you apologize a day later. It's like, yeah, I love you, but get the hell out of my face. I want to see action. I don't want your apology. Like, you got to show me that this ain't going to happen again. You got to show me that I can trust you. So it's kind of the same thing with Drew Brees. Show us that we can trust you. Show us that you're really for the Black community. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying he's canceled completely. Not for me, at least. You know what I mean? I just, like the guy said, I just want to see action. That's it. You know what I mean? It's as simple as that.
I mean, I agree. Like, of course, I'm a Christian as well, and I agree with what you say. Like, I believe in forgiveness. But one thing, maybe people don't understand this because it wasn't one of the verbal teachings, but it's something that Christ said every time he either forgave someone or anytime he ever healed someone. He said, go and sin no more. In other words, yes, you're forgiven. Don't do it again. So that's the call to action. Like, okay, Drew, we see your apology, and we're not going to crucify you when we see you. We're not going to throw bricks at your house, but we're watching now. Now I want to see what's up. I do have one thing to add. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the poem "The Apology." I'm trying to find it so I can cite it, but I can't seem to find it right now. But everybody knows what Stockholm Syndrome is. It's a condition by which the victim of it's a psychological response. It occurs when hostages or abuse victims bond with their captors or abusers, right? I have a problem with one very specific thing, and I think this is something that needs to be addressed very clearly. Drew Brees said that he can be a leader in the Black community. No, you cannot, because you are not a Black man. You can be an ally in the Black community, but do not assume a role of leadership inside the Black community. And the reason I say that, and a lot of people are going to disagree with this, but follow me for a second. The reason I say that, in his first apology, that was in it. Panky, can you pull that up and reread that line for me?
I don't know if he said that he was.
Hold on.
Talking with leaders in the.
Okay, here we go. From the first apology. I recognize that I am part of the solution and can be a leader for the Black community in this movement.
Oh, wow.
Pause. So, First of all, you are part of the problem, Drew. That is something you need to identify and accept. You can be an ally to the solution, and but my issue is, don't assume a role of leadership in the Black community, but instead empower Black men to lead themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, because part of and the reason I cited the poem, The Apology, If I get a chance, I'll post it, or maybe when the video goes up, I'll get Philip to post a link to the poem. But the poem basically is, sorry?
I got that poem if you want, man. You mean
My
Emerson?
man. Say again?
Ralph Waldo Emerson, The Apology?
No, not that one.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. But the reason I say this is because in the apology, they basically outlined that part of the reason black men are so frowned upon, even by black women, is because when they needed to be the strength of their community, they were not able to do so. So black people started looking at, they started looking at massa. They started looking at the slave masters to be their protection and their security. And massa took that as a means to exert more power over the black community. In other words, I'm a slave and I see my wife being beaten, but I can't do anything about it. So over generations, she starts to look at me now like, you're useless to me because you can't protect me, you can't help me. The only person who can protect and help me is the white man, because he's the one who's going to say, okay, enough, stop beating her now, that's enough, right? But that idea that, Drew, like, you're going to be a leader in the black community, like, don't do that, man, because that kind of reinstates that mind frame of like, we need a white guy to step in and he's going to be the leader that's going to bring change, or he's going to be the person to really make a difference because of his platform. No, sir. Take a step back, push your black teammates forward and say, I'm not in a position to do this, but I'm going to take my step back and I'm going to let the black guys who are also professional athletes who make millions of dollars and have a platform, I'm going to let them take a leadership role on this one, because I have no business being a leader in the black community as a 5'11" white guy. Like, you don't. Be an ally, not a leader. Like, help us, but don't lead us. You know what I'm saying?
Jermaine, do you mean the poem by Ruby Robinson?
Can you read the first line to me?
So many names, my mother, I'm never sure what to call you. So many names for all your predators and crushes and suitors. I'm sorry. I could post it in the chat here. I don't know. That's the only other one I can see that isn't Emerson.
No.
Okay. Never mind.
No, I get what you're saying though. It's kind of like to reference sports here. It's kind of like a D Wade and LeBron 2012 situation where D Wade realized in order for us to get where we need to go, LeBron has to lead the team and I got to take a step back. Now, me taking a step back doesn't mean that I'm not going to help and I'm not going to give 100% in helping, but in order for us to get where we need to go, you got to lead the charge. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's the same thing. It's the same thing with Drew Brees and, other white people and other races that, want to step in and give us a helping hand. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I definitely get what you're saying with that, Jared.
Yep.
It's going to be a really interesting. Well, interesting is the wrong word. I don't know. It's sorry. It's tough to find the right words, honestly. But to see what's going to happen here, because what we're talking about is truly like empowering Black people in America, like giving them real power for the first time ever. And for that to actually happen, that means giving up power, right? For the people that have held it for so long. And it's unfortunate, but I can't think of many other times throughout history where that someone has willingly handed over power without there being, a violent uprising, like a systematic, fundamental change in those things, right? Like, one thing that I thought was interesting, I'd love to get you guys' thoughts on, is just with the idea of how a lot of people, a lot of athletes that we love, a lot of Black athletes, being an athlete is one of the only opportunities they have to get out of their community.
Yep.
And like, they are the luckiest of lucky ones. And I from what I've seen, and I'm sure like almost every Black athlete, at least the ones that have come from neighborhoods like that, they have family members that have died. They have best friends, brothers, sisters that have died, you know, and it's like they were the lucky ones to make it out. But it's like, it shouldn't be that way, right? The opportunities need to be there. I'm all for capitalism, but you need to give everyone a chance to you know what I mean? At least the basic level of chance to be able to succeed. It's not fair the other way. It's just fucking.
Well, it's like we see that with. Did you guys see about DeAndre Hopkins? Why he said why he wears number 10?
No, go ahead. You can fill us in on it.
Okay, so I don't know the circumstances. Oh, it was on Twitter. He just posted on Twitter. He said, this was I think 5 days ago or something. Anyway, he tweeted, "My big cousin from South Carolina did 10 years in jail for $600 worth of drugs. Let that sink in. That's the real reason I wear number 10. Modern day. ...
Oh my goodness. My goodness. You know what? Speaking of drugs, right? Let's just think about this for a second. Weed, right? Mm-hmm. Let's use marijuana. Marijuana is legal in more than half of the country now, right? So with that being said, there are people that are in jail still for like 20, 30 years for marijuana.
So it should be eradicated.
This is what I'm saying, but that won't happen because the majority of those people are minorities. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, and like Jack said, you know what I mean? Some people are going to have to lose power. In my opinion, it's not more of losing it. It's more of, you know, not abusing it anymore and just making it an equal playing field. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a situation where, I'm going to quote a line from one of my favorite movies, Paid in Full. Everybody eats. Everybody can eat. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this country is a little too greedy. There's enough power to go around. You know what I mean? There are enough opportunities to go around, but the rich want to get richer. You know what I mean? The people that have the opportunities don't necessarily want to give them up. You know what I mean? Which is why, in my opinion, the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. Everybody can eat. Everybody can be successful. Everybody can have the same opportunities, but I feel like that's been one of the major issues. You know what I mean? I know I referenced this, I think it's last week's episode. Most, you know, neighborhoods, you know, urban neighborhoods, Black neighborhoods are run by predominantly white police forces. Like, that shouldn't be like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's where a lot of these troubles come in. Like, if you look at Minneapolis, George Floyd, I'm not sure if that was a completely Black community or whatever. I know I saw some whites there. I saw some Indians there. I saw a lot of different races there. But look at the cops on the scene. You know what I mean? Yeah, there was an Asian there, but the majority of them were white. You know what I mean? It's just like, not to say that there aren't bad Black cops, but I feel like that's part of the problem right there. You know what I mean? You don't put a bunch of Black guys in a predominantly white neighborhood. You know what I mean? So why is it that the majority of the police force in these Black neighborhoods are predominantly white? Like, that's the issue right there. Like, you got to give these people an equal opportunity. You know what I mean? Things have to be shaken up in order for there to be some type of change. You know, Einstein's theory of insanity, trying the same thing more than once, expecting different results. Like, things have to be shaken up. You know what I mean? Some pieces have to be moving around on the chessboard, you know? That's how I look at it.
Absolutely.
It's I think that there's been this is such a big topic because it's on such a deep level, and a lot of people just don't get it. And even some of the people that are like, oh yes, the police need to stop killing Black people, of course, and that's the issue that people are using to try to spur this change right now. But there has just been an imbalance for so long. And one of the interesting things that Jermaine, you were telling me is and sorry if I'm sharing something you didn't want, but
no, go for it.
It was that you want to be considered smart for being smart. You want to be considered successful for being successful, not smart or successful for a Black guy.
Right.
And it's one of the most frustrating things when somebody says, "Oh, wow, like you speak so well for a Black guy." Pardon me?
You get that?
Man, some of the shit I hear, bro, are like, wow, like you don't sound like a black guy. What does a black guy sound like? I'm at work, mind you, like I'll be on the phone talking to people. Like, am I supposed to pick up the phone and be like, hey, yo, what it is, my G, it's a great day, a good life, what's popping, son? No, I'm at work. I will say it's a great day, a good life. This is Jermaine speaking. How can I help you?
Just a quick aside. I think you might get more memberships with the first.
Get out of here, man. But like that shit happens where people are like, oh wow, like you, or like I'll give you an example. A couple of months ago, I was sitting down with two coworkers of mine, and I was explaining to one coworker why what they said would be perceived in the wrong way. What they said to someone else. Mind you, I was a bystander in the situation. It had nothing to do with me. But I went on to explain to them, like, it was about fitness. And I went on to explain to them, like, what they said, how it made their superior look bad, how it made our business look bad, and how we didn't present a united front. Then I went on to explain the health and fitness benefits of the policy that we have in place. And throughout that entire conversation, you know, I, of course, being me, I got into my U of T education. I got into the exercise nutrition and the nutrogenics of things and how exercise really affects individuals on a different level, right? You know, and I went in on it. And then after that, he kind of looked at me and he was like, man, you're really smart. I wasn't expecting that. And I was just like, why not? And he's like, I don't know. Like, I just wasn't expecting you to be so smart. And I was like, you know, I have a university degree. You know, I did athletic therapy. You know, I did sport medicine. You know all these things about me, but you just weren't like, you thought I graduated by the skin of my teeth. You thought I just like barely made it out. Like, what did you? And initially I wasn't offended because I was just like, yeah, man, you know, not a lot of people know simply because I don't go around spewing fun facts about sport medicine. I work at a gym, you know, I talk about fitness and health. But after I kind of sat back and I was like, well, why would you automatically assume that I'm not that smart? And I was like, I guess, you know, that's just how people look at it. They're like, wow, like you're smarter than I thought. And it's frustrating. I saw something on Instagram the other day. It was about how you should speak to a black woman. And, you know, I've heard this before when somebody says, wow, you're really pretty for a black girl. What the hell does that mean? Like, she's pretty for a woman, period. Like, black, white, Asian, Indian, shit, I love them all. Like, be who you are, be beautiful. But, like, for somebody to look a black woman in the face and say, you're really pretty for a black girl, is like, it's almost to say, like, being black is a knock, but in spite of that thing that takes you away from the spectrum of beautiful, you still pass. You still make it.
I'd just like to point out that Jermaine's flirt game is so strong that during an impassioned speech about race, he actually was able to fit in that he loves all women. Ladies, he's available.
Just make sure y'all put his Instagram on this shit. You know what I mean? Make sure y'all put his Instagram on his name or something. I mean,
man, shut up, man.
Jay Easy stay what?
Hey, yo, Jay Easy stay breezy because I feel greasy when you squeeze me. You know what I mean?
There you go. There you go. All right.
First of all, my attentions are focused, so relax.
Let's begin to wrap this up. We saw, a video montage, collage, like a video put together of a bunch of NFL athletes coming out, black athletes coming out, saying what they need to say, saying what needs to be said.
Yeah.
And it actually became the catalyst that made Roger Goodell acknowledge the situation at hand and promise that the NFL will work towards a solution. What do we hope to see from the NFL going forward? Like to me, what Goodell said was like, you know, a little bit more of that PR stuff. But I think getting the NFL to say something is of its own a pretty big accomplishment.
I want to see.
There's a lot more to do. So what would you like to see?
I want to see $1 billion $1 billion. I want to see $1 billion distributed to the charities and the organizations that need them, and to implement a plan of real change. Like they have the money. They are an organization that profits off of Black talent, and I want to see a B. I know we're not going to, but that's what I want to see. Like, and a real plan, like a detailed plan of what's going to happen and how they're going to become a leader. I don't want to see any of this, any more of the like stay fit, whatever, 30 minutes, 60-minute playtime for kids. I want to see like all their advertising go towards like racial justice, civil rights. Like,
you know what's crazy? I agree with you, man. But like my question now becomes, so I'm the average consumer, and I say I want to donate $100,000 to racial injustice. Where's that money going exactly?
Well, you need to educate yourself on the groups that are actually using it, right?
That's fair. That's fair. But what I'm saying, like, what I want to do, or what I'd like to see is, I'd like every NFL team to take, $10 million, and $1 billion is I love that. But like, even something realistic and tangible right now, take $10 million as an organization, take that money and give it out to 5 schools in the inner city of your hometown. So for example, the Falcons, and I'm a big Falcons fan, everybody knows that. Y'all take 25 million, because that's the deficit of our greatest chain. Take that 25 million and give 5 million to 5 different schools that have a predominantly Black student population. And I'm talking new computers, new textbooks, new transportation, safe school routes, pay the teachers, give these kids a chance to buy laptops. And there's a video on YouTube. When I was in the university, I saw it, and it was basically talking about the availability of resources for students. And, I'll give you a brief description. 2 groups of students, kind of like on a Jeopardy thing, where they would ask questions of each group. And it was a multicultural group, both sides, and they were neck and neck, very smart kids. And then for round 2, they said, okay, what we're gonna do now, we're gonna give you guys resources, and we're gonna see how, who wins. And they put up a dividing wall, and team A got textbooks, team B got laptops and tablets. And then they started asking questions, and team B was kicking ass. And team A was like, we're smart too. How come we're not doing as well as them all of a sudden? And then when they moved the divider, they realized, oh, those guys have laptops? We're spending time sifting through books and trying to find answers. They can just Google it. The problem with a lot of Black communities is that these kids don't have access to laptops and tablets and cell phones and good library systems and all these things. So no, they will not be educated. Doesn't matter how smart they are, they just won't be educated. So take that money, invest it in the schools. Take that money, invest it in youth programs, not like the midnight basketball that they tried to do in I believe it was the late 80s, early 90s. Because that shit was stupid. But put the money towards tangible things. Don't just say, oh, I donated to the Black Lives Matter movement. I want to hear Matt Ryan say, I donated $2 million to, George Washington High School. Whatever. I don't even know if that's a school, but you know what I'm saying? Like, tangible things that will have tangible effects immediately. Because if a Black kid goes to school on Monday and has a hard time, and then he goes to school on Tuesday, and as he's walking out the door, the teacher's like, hey, by the way, here's a laptop for you to help you do your homework. Immediate change. Immediate change. You know what I'm saying? And like, for me, that's what I want to see. I want to see action.
I think at least 2 teams have pledged something similar to that.
Sorry?
I think at least 2 teams have pledged something similar to what you're saying, Jermaine.
Beautiful.
I think it's the Packers and the Patriots, where like, I think it's like, it's on a much lower financial level of like $1 million, I think it is. And it's like half the team, half the players, and the money is going to places that the players choose in the community it should go to.
Right.
In Wisconsin and in the Boston, New England region. So hopefully more teams can pick up on that, and the dollar amounts can go much higher as well.
Yeah.
I also want to see. I want to see an emphasis put on voting as well. I want them to advertise that people should vote, like, or fund organizations that promote voting as well, because everyone watches the NFL, and a lot of people that watch the NFL don't vote.
Exactly. You know what I really want to see? You guys pretty much covered all the bases in terms of giving back to the community or whatever. But in the actual NFL, you know what I mean? I think we all kind of know what's coming here. Colin Kaepernick needs a job, man. While I don't think
come to Atlanta, bro. I love Matty Ice, but come to Atlanta too.
While I don't think that he necessarily lost his starting job because of, you know, the protests or whatever, because, you know, he just wasn't the same quarterback anymore. You know, he played horribly, whatever, cool. But like Panky always states when we discuss this topic, are there really 32 quarterbacks that are better than Colin Kaepernick? I don't think so.
Or 32 backup quarterbacks that are better than him?
Exactly. Even if he's not good enough to have a starting job, the dude could still be a backup quarterback. So, you know, since it took Roger Goodell 3 years to understand what's actually going on, so now that you're out from under your rock, Mr. Goodell, you know what I mean? Give Kaepernick a job.
He didn't say sorry to Kaepernick, though. That's the thing that I was missing from that.
Exactly. And, you know, the black community, a large portion of the black community and other communities as well have boycotted the NFL. You know what I mean? You got celebrities that won't do the Super Bowl because Kaepernick doesn't have a job. You know what I mean? Like, so if you give Kaepernick a job back, you know what I mean? That's the first sign of, like, change. It's like, okay, all right, we could work with that. And then from there, more black coaches, you know what I mean? More black owners, you know what I mean? I don't necessarily agree with the Rooney Rule because it kind of, in my opinion, I'm not going to say it's degrading, but it's kind of like, why should you have to go to that extreme in order to get black coaches interviewed? You know what I mean? It should just be naturally. There shouldn't be a Rooney Rule. You know what I mean? But I feel like these are things that all 32 owners, Roger Goodell, they need to come together and discuss this. You know what I mean? If a black coach is as good as a white coach or as good as any other race, you know what I mean? He should be given an equal opportunity. You know what I mean? How many black coaches are there in the NFL right now? You know what I mean? It's probably less than 10. You know what I'm saying? So those are the things that I want to see, as well as the financial aspect of it, of course.
Yeah. I think with that, it's the same thing that you were saying with Kaepernick. You know, it's like, are there really, like, are there no black coaches that are better than Adam Gase right now? Like, you're telling me that there are no black football coaches that will do a better job than that?
I'm better than Adam Gase, and I coach women's flag football in the wintertime. Shout out to Panky. Shout out to the University of Toronto Powder Puff flag football program. I don't even think I think they progressed so much they don't even call it Powder Puff no more.
I think it's just women's flag football now.
Women's flag football, but hey, we ran a successful program. So any NFL teams looking for a black coach, come holler at your boy. And I'll bring in the biggest white guy I know to be my offensive assistant coach.
Yeah.
Was that a fat joke? Really?
Hey, Jack said no fat shaming. I just said big white guy. Guys, so before we sign off, I found the poem, and I would like to read it because I really want to get this message out. I think it's a beautiful message. So it's called "The Apology" by Aisha Williams. Okay, and we will post it on this chat, but the message is beautiful. The apology. They beat me and I called you to save me, but you couldn't, so I secretly resented you. They took our babies and sold them. I begged you to save us, but you couldn't, so I secretly blamed you. They raped me and I cried out for you to protect me, but you couldn't, so I stopped trusting you. You were supposed to be my man, my provider, my protector, but when I needed you, you couldn't be there, so I hated you. How could I let you tell me what to do when Massa could protect me more than you? How could I submit to you when you are forced to submit to Massa? So to protect myself, I submitted to the one who could protect me and our children. I stopped trusting you. I stopped loving you. I stopped honoring you. I stopped valuing you. And in turn, I became valueless to you. I didn't see the frustration in your eyes when our children were being sold. I didn't hear your silent cries when I was beaten. I didn't see your anger when I was being ravished. I didn't understand that you held your emotions to be strong for me. I thought you didn't care, but you wanted to be there. You wanted to protect me. You wanted to. But Massa made it so you couldn't, so I would trust him more than I trust you. I didn't see the hidden hands shaping our destiny. All I saw was my pain and the feeling that you neglected me. For all the times I blamed you, I'm sorry. For the resentment and distrust I've held against you for centuries, I'm sorry. For the times I've let you down. For the times I've broken your spirit with my words and my actions. For the times I openly rejected you and tried to control you because I thought less of you, I'm sorry. Massa had a plan that he said would work for 400 years. 400 years is over now. My eyes are wide open. I see you, King. I see the king in you. Please forgive my wrongs and see your queen in me. The apology. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful message that just really speaks volumes to it. Like, the plan was very simple. Make black men obsolete to their own communities so that their communities don't trust them anymore, so you have no one else to trust but the white community. And that's what I meant by Drew Brees saying he can be a leader. He can't. You know?
Wow. Yeah, that was amazing, man.
Yeah.
Jigs, what's going on right now, man? Can we talk about this? What happened? You saw me eye?
Yeah.
It was a bug that flew in his eye.
No, I'll say shut up.
Hey man, you know what? For everybody watching, that's the heart of our casting crew, man. Like, that's the heart of our family right here. We love everybody, man. We love each other. We love our friends, our family, our fans. Even if it's one fan or a million, it doesn't matter. Like, we love everybody, and to see the level of injustice around the world is one thing, but to see the level of disregard around the world is really what brings us all to tears in one way or another. And to hear something like that, and that is a message from a black woman to a black man, to say, I'm sorry for the way that I disregarded you. The healing has begun inside the black communities. For those of you guys who, Panky, you've known me since what, 2011? Yeah, 2011 was first year.
Or 2010 or
2010. Jig, same thing. Jack, we met in 2013, 2014. 2013. So you guys have known me, if not a decade, just a little bit more than that. Figgy, obviously, you've known me since birth. Dylan, we've been brothers for the last 2 years. A lot of you guys know that I do not shy away from saying the word nigga because I know the definition and the history behind the word niggas, meaning black king. But I will say that one thing I've started actively doing is saying brother more often than not, because I think it brings healing in the black community. Another thing I've started doing a lot is, and a lot of people who watch this podcast, whether they work with me, whether they see me on the street, they see me at the gym, whatever, they'll notice, if I dap you, right, and I dap, the next thing I do is I do this. And it's a sign of like respect and acceptance, right? A lot of people know that, but not a lot of people implement. Like, people, oh yeah, dap, all this dumb shit. No, dap, respect, and to the heart, that's acceptance. And that's because the healing has begun inside the black community, and that poem is an example of that. What I need now is uplifting in the black community from our white compadres, from the people around us who have oppressed us, reverse that action and lift us up. So a message to guys like Drew Brees, Roger Goodell, Adam Silver, all those guys, don't try to be the forefront of the movement, because you'll never understand the gravity of the situation because you didn't experience it. Instead, use your power and position to uplift other people, to uplift the black people around you so that they can be the forefront of their own movement. Black people need to be able to take a stand. Now, we will need support in that, but we do not need you to lead us. We need you to allow us to lead ourselves. We need you to allow us to use our own strengths and stand on our own 2 feet, because if we can't do that, then Black people will never live a life of true freedom, because even if a white man liberates us, we're going to be indebted to that white man, and that's a problem. So take a step back, Drew Brees, take a step back, Goodell, take a step back, Adam Silver, and most definitely take a step back, Donald Trump. Matter of fact, you take a step back, sit down, go in the back, and shut them out. Shut up.
Don't go back to the bunker.
Yeah, don't say nothing. Just get out. But let Black people rise up for themselves, within themselves. The number one thing I think will spark a true revolution is when Black people start seeing the beauty within themselves.
Jermaine and Biggs and Dylan, would you guys be able to talk a little bit about for non-Black listeners out there? I know myself personally. I don't know if Panky and Jigs want to speak to it at all. But how should people that want to be allies be acting right now, both in their personal lives and in their public lives?
I think you guys do a great job in your personal lives simply by, one, giving us a platform to speak. I can actively say, and don't for people who watch, don't think that I'm just a cocky asshole who just likes to talk. But I've recognized in the last 2 shows that you guys have given me the platform to speak more than you. And I appreciate that, because me, Warren, and Dylan, we have that lived experience. And you guys have been very attentive. That's one thing enough, just to allow people to speak. In your personal lives, treat me the same as you treat everybody else. Treat me, give me that the opportunity to be your friend. Give me the opportunity to be your ally and to be a part of your world the way I want you to be a part of mine. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys invited me into your homes, you guys invited me into your family life, and I appreciate all of that. And I want that to be the same with everybody. When you hear somebody saying something messed up, address it. Don't let it slide under the rug. You hear somebody making a crude joke, or somebody says something stupid like, oh, well, maybe, I don't really agree with the whole Black Lives Matter thing. Shut it down instantly and take a public stand. I've seen a lot. I have a couple of friends from high school, and I'll shout out one guy. I hope one day he watches this and he sees me shouting him out. One of my linebackers from high school, his name is Dylan Campbell. I haven't spoken to him in maybe 4 years. And in the last month, he's messaged me about 6-7 times, just being like, hey, Jay, I know there's a lot going on right now, and I'd love your opinion, because I know you're a smart guy, and I know you've got stuff to say, and I want to hear your opinion about certain things. And he's a great guy. He's a great man. I've always loved Dylan. We butt heads a lot in high school when we played football together. He was a leader on the defense. I was quarterback. I was leader on the offense, and we were both rambunctious assholes. But he's genuine, and that's the kind of thing I look for when I think about an ally, someone who is going to actively stand in the gaps and support me and support the Black community in whatever way they can. And support Black businesses. I think that's really big. And when I say Black businesses, I don't mean go buy Jordans and LeBrons. As much as I love those sneakers, that's not Black businesses. I mean, go to your local shops, and buy Auntie Jem's fufu and curry goat. Go get some roti from Brampton. In Canada, come to Pickering. Look up 416 Crab Shack on Instagram. There's this girl who makes the best seafood I have ever had in my life. 416 Crab Shack on Instagram. When I tell you this seafood is like, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I've never had a Viagra, so I don't know what that actually feels like. But I imagine that her stuffed lobster tail was very, very Viagra-esque.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Jib, can you pull that up again, please? At 416 Crab Shack. Oh, baby girl. Ooh! She don't know what she
let's
do.
wrap this stuff before this motherfucker busts a nut on the air.
We had a good run until the crab stuff came, lobster tails came in.
I was about to put her address online, but that's That's inappropriate because I know where she live at because I went to pick up the food. Oh my god.
Oh man,
Yeah, that shit is that good, huh?
Bro, you have no idea, son. It had me, man. I was
Jermaine
licking my fingers the next day.
Jermaine has second come to Christ moment apparently with that lobster tail.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, for real. But yeah, support the black community, support black businesses. You know, say and you know what? Say what up to black people, man. It's one thing I've noticed in Toronto. It's not the same in New York because as far as I'm concerned, everybody in New York is angry. But in Toronto, one of the things I've noticed, and Jack, you would notice this because you and I talk about it quite often, especially when we live together. If I walk down the street, it doesn't matter if you're young or old. I see another black man, every single time I give him one of these. Just kind of like I see you, you see me, mutual respect. If you white and you pass me on the block, say what up. Say what up, because now it's no longer about I see you as a black man, you see me as a black man. I see you as a person, and you see me as a person. Say what up. You know what I mean? Give me a shout, because that will show me that in public you're willing to see me and acknowledge me.
I remember in I remember in high school it was funny because I would make friends with random dudes and like, you know, whatever, a black guy, and I would realize none of the other white guys were friends with him or something, and I'd be like, why am I friends with him? And I'm like, have they ever even like talked to him? Like, have they ever even like, or do they just automatically walk the other direction? Like I was friends with him because one day I walked outside and I was like, yo, can I get a smoke? And like, you know what I mean? And it's just the division is so wrong. Anyways, sorry, I'm getting back into that, but thank you for expressing that, because that's definitely helpful. But yeah, it's support businesses, education.
Also take up smoking, because you'll make friends that way, according to Jack.
Yeah.
I do not endorse that message.
I would just like to say to the white people listening, just talk to your black friends. Start with that.
First thing, don't call them your black friends.
No, you know what I mean.
I'm gonna go talk to my black friends. No.
It's their opinions that need to be heard. It's their ideas that need to be heard. And if you don't know how to support, they'll tell you.
Facts.
They'll tell you.
That's a fact.
And if you don't have friends of other races, that already says enough about you. But you should be out there making friends of other races.
Bars. If you live in Toronto and you don't have black friends, then you're an embarrassment to Toronto.
You're not in
Toronto. And you don't have a friend from every race. You're doing something wrong. I was out there for like a week and I made friends from every.
Man, Warren came to visit me I grew up in Curtis, Ontario. Warren came to visit when I was in high school. Warren left with an Asian friend, a couple of black friends. One of my best friends is mixed between Indian and Irish. And, you know, like, shout out to Andreas Tapp. But, like, we had friends from everywhere. If you live in Toronto and you do not have a black friend, you are losing at life. Point blank, period.
Pretty much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. All right, so gentlemen, I think we've kind of gotten to it insofar as what can we do. The message really is we want to see tangible changes. We want to see action. You know, I think eventually the rioting is going to stop, and eventually the hashtags are going to fade away, and eventually, you know, the spark of it all is going to die down, because let's be real, according to the way 2020 is moving, by September there's going to be an alien invasion, because it just seems to keeps getting worse apparently. But if we want to see active things, we want to see a change, let's be about it. Don't talk about it no more, be about it. You know what I mean? Let's live out that change day in and day out. And always think to yourself, like, even if I do something small, I've changed a circumstance. You don't have to change the whole world, but change somebody's circumstance today.
Yes, sir.
Everyone benefits when you actually pay attention to other cultures and whatnot. And it's like, if I never met like a Filipino woman, like a middle-aged Filipino woman, I would never know that they're probably like the kindest people on earth. And
Facts.
it's like, you know, and if I had never, like, when I was in Morocco and we got into deep discussions about the Quran and Islam, like, I learned so much. It's a benefit to your life. It doesn't make you like less of a person or weaken your race or your country or something. Like, it builds it. It benefits it. You build something together. It's everyone get out there, do that.
Right, for sure.
That's hard.
All right, before we sign off, anyone else? Jigs, what you got, man?
I was just gonna say thank you for tuning in.
That's it.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching, listening, subscribe, follow, share, like, whatever social media stuff you use, do it. And in the meantime, we hope to see sports back soon, but stay educated on the topics at hand.
That's it.
Don't be ignorant on this shit. Only
That's
sports.
Ignorance is a choice. We live in the age of information.
Should we rethink our name?
Nah, because I said we are ignorant to a point, not ignorant to a fault. I like it. I like it. Mind you, we are ignorant where sports are concerned.
That's it.
And we're not even ignorant as in lack of information. We just ignorant because we don't give a damn about your information. You know, I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn how many finals MVPs Joe Flacco got. He's still Joe Flacid, so I don't care. Like,
yeah, we have a lot of actual sports knowledge on the show.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you got to be ignorant to be a Knicks fan, anyways.
facts.
Bro,
I mean,
hold on. Can we have one podcast episode without one of you motherfuckers bringing up the Knicks? God damn.
hey, yo, Figs. Figs. Pull your sleeve up right quick. Just do this.
Listen.
Just do this and flex. So
we gotta put a ticker. Weeks gone without or consistent weeks gone with saying about the Knicks.
Probably need to be like minutes gone.
Just keeps resetting.
Man.
Fuck you motherfuckers. I'm going. Bye.
All right, hey, be easy, everybody. Yo, dude really signed out. Be blessed, everybody. We'll talk next week, man.
Oh, man.